Well, we are here at the International Storytelling Center in downtown Jonesboro for Storytelling Live. The 19th season kicked off earlier this month, runs all the way through December. Each week, a different teller in residence. 26 different storytellers making their way to Jonesboro to share some wonderful stories with us. And today, we are joined by this week's teller in residence. We have Andy Hedges here with us. And Andy, thanks so much for meeting us out here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
Well, I understand made the trip from Texas, and not your first trip to Jonesboro, although this is your first time with Storytelling Live.
That's right. I've been out here one time performing at the National Festival 3 or 4 years ago.
So good to be back.
Wonderful to be back, and brought my family out with me this time, and excited to explore the area with them.
Wonderful. Well, we're excited that you're here exploring the area with us and sharing your talent. Cowboy poetry is kind of your specialty, and you said you kind of got started watching your dad and kind of growing up with your dad in Texas?
Yes, ma'am. My dad was a bull rider there in Texas as a young man before I came along, and by the time I was born, he had become a Primitive Baptist pastor, but he kind of passed on to me his love for cowboy culture and all things Western, and I grew up hearing his rodeo stories, and then as a young kid, I discovered cowboy poetry and just took to it right away.
There's something special, I think, when you're young, too, about a cowboy and just, you know, that Wild West and how brave and fearless they are.
I was certainly that way. Grew up watching the old Western movies, and cowboy poetry was really a way to discover the real thing, because these old traditional poems really flow out of the real working ranch culture. So it tells a slightly different story than the Hollywood version. But was still mesmerizing as a kid.
Sharing the stories right here on the stage behind us. You're going to be here every day at 2 o'clock through Saturday. What do you care to give us a little preview, Andy? Maybe share one of your stories with us this morning?
I'd love to. I'm going to share an old-time recitation with you, and a lot of what I do is poetry, you know, stories that really come out in verse. And this one's a little bit different because it's what's called cowboy brag talk. And I picked this up from a record of an old timer who learned this as a kid in Wyoming in the 1920s. And so this is one of these traditional pieces that's been passed on for many years. I was born full-growed with 9 rows of jaw teeth and holes bored for more. There were spurs on my feet, a rawhide quirt in my hand, and when they opened the chute, I come out a-riding a panther and roping the longhorn whales. I've rode everything with hair on it, and I've rode a few things it was too rough to grow any hair. I've rode bull moose on the prod, she grizzlies, and long bolts of lightning. Mountain lions are my playmates. When I get cold and lonesome, I sleep in a den of rattlesnakes, 'cause they always make me nice and warm. To stay alive, I eat stick, dynamite, and cactus. The Grand Canyon ain't nothing but my beanhole. When I gets thirsty, I drink cyanide cut with alkali. When I go to sleep, I pillow my head on the Bighorn Mountains, I lay my boots in Colorado and my hat in Montana. I can stretch out my arms clean over from the Crazy Woman Fork all the way to the upper Gray Bull River. My bed tarp covers half of Texas and all of old Mexico. But there's one thing for sure and certain, and if you boys want to know, I'll tell you that I'm still a long ways short of being the daddy of them all, 'cause he's full-growed. And as any man that really knows can see, I ain't nothing but a youngin'.
Fabulous.
Oh,
Andy, that
thank
was
you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Fearless, right? Cowboys, just doing it all.
Yeah, and you know, the storytelling tradition out west, and probably in the east too, has this element of the tall tales and stretching the truth a little bit.
Just a little bit.
And so that's just kind of an old-time example of that.
We are super excited. Andy, thanks so much for taking the time to chat with us. We'll give everybody the information. Andy's going to be sharing stories like this all week long, every day, happening at 2 o'clock right here at the International Storytelling Center. You can get your tickets online, or you can call, or you can even show up and get those tickets at the door. And stay tuned, because coming up a little later, we're going to be giving a few tickets away this week. All that and more coming up later on Daytime.
All right, we're going from a little storytelling to telling you the story of